Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Zach Sopak, and welcome to my very interesting setup right now for this beautiful Monday morning live stream. Hope you're all doing really well. I'm trying to be. You gotta let me know if I'm being too quiet or not because I'm trying not to wake up my family. That is the beauty of being a parent and trying to do YouTube. I've got probably about 20 minutes to do this thing, and I'm gonna give it my go. All right, on this beautiful Monday morning. I have not had my coffee yet, but don't hold it against me. I'm gonna be good. So what we're gonna do here in this little live stream for the next 20 minutes or so is I'm gonna just hop into doing some some photo editing. It's still early on the West Coast. I'm gonna do some photo editing, and we're gonna have a good time with it. If you wanna follow along, I'm gonna be in Lightroom Mobile today. A lot of people have been asking about more Lightroom desktop videos. They are coming, and the beautiful thing is that if somebody feels like you can't get a lot out of my mobile content, it's nice because Lightroom desktop does transfer over pretty well. So like the controls and everything are still the same. Okay, like I said, don't mind the Amazon box or any weird things that you see because I'm still under construction for a new live stream setup. So again, let me know if audio is coming through just fine because I got a different setup than what I'm accustomed to. So what we have here is we've got some photos. So just gonna pick one kind of at random, and we're gonna just roll with it. A lot of these pictures are of previous trips that I've taken, and so that's kind of just like easy, fun content. Speaking of, all right, let's do this guy right here. So maybe not. I think I need to reset this. That's a beautiful thing about live. It's like not following along with what I'm doing, but that's okay. Let me know where you're watching from, and let me know what you're drinking. Because I would love to be drinking some coffee right now, but it's just slightly too early. Plus the espresso machine's really loud and I don't want to wake up the fam. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. See if this works. Okay, perfect. So, yes. Oh no. Oh no. It's not working, guys. Oh wait. I think I know the trick. Ah, haha. Okay. We got it, people. Gotta love OBS, man. Okay. So does that still work if I do this? Yes. Okay, good. All right. Awesome. All right, so we have our photo here. Basically all I did to start it off is I just hit auto. Auto is a nice little starting point that you can use at the beginning of your photos just to get it to a nice place. I promise we're gonna get through this thing. So nice little auto, set the exposure well. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna start manipulating the light panel. So things like exposure, highlights and shadows. It already did a really good job. In fact, I might just drop the shadows slightly, and let's go to curvature. Just do a little subtle S curve, maybe just lift the blacks ever so slightly. If you want more control over certain parts of your image with the tone curve, add more points and it will reduce the movement across the rest of the line. So if you really want to do work in like your shadow area, then you should add more points along the line, because if you don't have a lot of points, it's going to start going loopy everywhere else. So do some of that. Let's go over to our color. Honestly, the white balance is great. I might just warm it up slightly. Yeah, I like that. Vibrance, good. I like that. Let's have a little fun with the color mixer tab. So under color mixing, I'm gonna first start with yellow. See what we can do here. Drop that yellow color a little bit. I know the jacket's kind of like crazy, and I think I want to try something a little later to make potentially the jacket pop a little bit more. Orange. Gonna drop the saturation of the orange. Maybe just bump the luminance slightly. Let's go over to green. Some fun stuff in the greens. I find what a lot of what I do is I'll tend to desaturate a lot of things. Just has a nice effect. Desaturate and then mess a little bit with the luminance. What else do we have here? This is what I do a lot, is I just like go through and I just like slide back and forth to see where the colors are and if they're having an effect on the image. Sometimes they don't. Okay, cool, we got our water there. If you didn't know, there's a little color mix tool. So if you go to this little bullseye looking thing, you can select hue, saturation, or luminance, so you can decide which thing you're manipulating. So let's say it's saturation, and wherever you put your finger on your image, like let's say if I'm like touching the water area, if I put my finger to the right, it's starting to increase, and as I move it to the left, it's starting to decrease what's going on over there. So it's kind of nice, especially too with like hues, if you're trying to manipulate like different colors but you're not exactly sure where to select it. It'll actually select more than one color, so it's pretty nice. So let's go ahead and finish this photo up, and then I'm going to go ahead and answer a couple of questions. So don't want to do that. Let's do a little color grading. So in the shadowy areas, maybe just the slightest. Let's get crazy. Do a little bit of like warmer midtones. Kind of want to keep in the warmish vibe. We can adjust this later too. And the highlights. I'm purely just going off of what I just kind of feeling right now. We'll do a little cooler highlights. What does this look like? More in the cooler. I'm thinking potentially something like that. I'm not sure how it's coming across on your screen, but the detail there. Looking alright. And then we'll add a little bit of texture. Drop a little bit of the clarity. Add a little dehaze. Add a slight vignette. And we'll leave that there. Okay, now let's go to our masking. So if you don't have Lightroom Mobile, like the paid version, then you won't be able to do this, but doing the select subject with a mask is really awesome, especially because look how powerful the selection is. It literally got like my entire my entire body in there, which is so cool. So I can like make myself pop a little bit more. I can kind of fool the lighting in the image. Let's see, I do a little hue rotation. Yeah, let's kind of like warm up that jacket a little bit. Fine adjustments. What else do we want here? Just a little bit of texture on me. I think that's kind of nice. Cool. Okay, let's do another mask. This time we're gonna do a radial gradient. Since our light is coming from the left side of the image, I'm gonna do a big ol' sort of paint job here. I'm gonna see what I can do to make this appear a bit like kind of like a flash of light coming through. So reduce the clarity, reduce the texture, a little bit of that dehaze, warm it up a little bit. Yeah. And then we can kind of stretch and rotate this. So we're hoping this is going to give us a nice like glowy effect in our image. And I want to see if there's a way, kind of learning with you all here. So invert the mask. Basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure it doesn't, it only affects kind of like certain areas in the image, but that might be a desktop only sort of thing for Lightroom. But I'm kind of liking the vibe here. It kind of works. Let's do an even bigger one. And this is pretty accurate to like the image, because when we were at this spot, it very much had this vibe with like the mistiness of everything. So I just brought that warmth. I'm gonna bring it up just a little bit more. But I think what I'll do, maybe add a little bit of that texture back. And then what I can do is I can subtract from the mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the subject, being myself. So what I basically just did there is I cut myself out of the image. So now the glow is not overtaking like me as the subject, but it's kind of like going all around. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Before image, after, pretty sweet. I wonder if there's anything else we could really do. Maybe just frame it up a little bit better. We're gonna go for the old Instagram 4x5, and then I'll be happy to answer some questions that you guys would have. And I'm gonna have to unfortunately wrap this thing up sooner than expected, because it took me a while to get my setup going here. But I'm happy that you're here with me today. Yeah, I think something maybe about pretty classic, something like that. So that's our image. Before, after, before, and after. And it's no presets, that's just using the tools inside of the app itself, which the app is very powerful. So just goes to show you could do some really cool stuff. I do highly recommend to people though that you get, you know, I would really encourage you to try the paid version of Lightroom. I don't get anything from saying that, but the paid version of Lightroom has a lot of these nice selection features, and I think that it's really worth trying. I think they do like a free trial or like a 14-day free trial kind of thing. So that would be my suggestion there. Okay, so just want to hit a couple of these questions that we got here. Really just one question, but everybody's saying hi, hello, good to see you. Hope you're doing well today. How much brightness do you prefer while processing? So I'm guessing the question is, how bright do I like to have my final image be? Let me show you what I like to do, or a little trick that I like to do. First of all, whenever I'm editing, I try to have, I'm realizing this may not look exactly the same because the program that I'm using, it's a little different from my phone to what you're seeing online. But what I like to do is I like to have everything as bright, pretty much about as bright as possible, just because it gives me a good reference. That's funny. And I realized I would do that when I rotated the phone. I like to be able to just kind of like have the brightness up high, mostly because I just want to see the contrast. And then when I edit, if you'll notice that the histogram, which is the above the image, the little kind of like wave, sort of like canyon looking thing, I like there to be a nice spread on the image, because if you don't really have it, or it's too far to one side or too far to the other, it's just not going to have a lot of contrast, meaning like there's not a lot of separation from your lights and your darks, which will make the image look really flat. So like, let me see if I can find an example. Okay, sure. This is not really that. It's okay. Okay, let's do this one. So let's say if the image was darker in exposure, this is kind of a tough lighting situation too, and like I have my highlights down and then I try to boost the shadows. So this is kind of something that a lot of people will do: low highlights, high shadows. Yes, you get the detail, but now everything is really gray. So this is the before, this is unedited raw, and then this is the after. So yeah, you get the detail, but then now things are much darker. And I kind of think with the context of people, you know, if it's for Instagram, people are going to be scrolling through on their phone. If your phone brightness is not very high, an image like this would not appear very well when just scrolling through. So I like, just kind of as a rule, I like to be able to have a nice amount of brightness in the image while I'm editing, and what the finished product will be. Again, with kind of like that final destination of where it's going to end up in mind. So the way I would end up probably editing this is, you know, I would bring up, you know, some of the shadows. I would drop some of the highlights. I would actually bring, maybe leave the exposure. And this is really where like the masking stuff could really help, because then you could do masking in certain areas. Like you could go through and you could select the sky, and that's where really the bright stuff is. So you can make adjustments to the sky just like that. Go ahead, boom, drop your exposure a little bit, maybe adjust the color so that way it kind of matches a little bit more of the water, desaturate it. Let's say we wanted to do another mask in this kind of like rocky area, then I would go through masking, add another mask. We would do a brush. That's not what I wanted. Brush. I want to change the size. And I could kind of do one of these numbers. And then you can refine this stuff. I'm just kind of doing the quick version. But this real dark area, you can take that, and then you could bump up the exposure. Maybe add a little bit of contrast, something like that. And then do a little adjustment there. And then boom, before, after. Keeping like all that detail in your water. And you can see the image is a lot, like just based off the histogram, everything's a lot more just nicely done. If you really wanted to get crazy, there's a little trick with your white and your black point. So I'm holding down my finger on the whites, and I'm going to tap the screen, and everything goes black. But as I raise the white, you can see that there are white spots in the image that are starting to creep in. So as a rule, I kind of like to like get where some of that stuff is creeping into the image, and then I let go. And so without that, that's where it is. So like plus 57 is where the bright point was. And that's kind of like that difference where it's really going to pop out a little bit more when you're editing. And you can also do the same thing with your black point too. So if you start to drop your black point, there's all that. So you don't want to overdo it, because then everything's going to appear black. But yeah, there's a lot more contrast, a lot more interest in the image now, instead of having something that's sort of flat and gray. So hopefully that is helpful for you. Solid advice, appreciate it. Guys, I got just a couple minutes before my baby wakes up, so I appreciate you all hanging through here on this short live stream on a Monday. Basic ideas about the tone curve. Okay, basic idea of the tone curve. Let's find an image here. Random image. So basic idea. I have a video about this too, so if you want to learn more about the tone curve, man, my words today. If you want to learn more about the tone curve, I did do a video about it. It's in the Lightroom playlist, which I think I linked below. So basically, tone curve, think of it like your light panel, where you can do all your exposure changes. Now I'm talking just about the white one here, not the red, green, or blue channel. That's more of color, and that's a little different. Basically, down at the bottom is your black point. Down at the top, oh, sorry. Let's pull this up here. Okay, there we go. So the bottom, this is your black point, and then the top is your white point. So, and I hear my wife's alarm going off. Basically, you can make adjustments all around the image, and you can get it looking how you want. This is where adding a lot of points is helpful, because then you can get some weird stuff going on if that's what you're going for. But having a lot of points is just nice to be able to really dial in like a proper curve. And I'm not saying this looks good, I'm just showing you a quick version of what the tone curve can do. So you can make tons of changes with the tone curve. I think in a future stream I'm going to do a challenge where all I'm doing is using the tone curve. I just feel like that'd be kind of a fun thing to do. Hey, keep sending the questions, leave them in the comments for the replay if you have any questions for any future live streams. Thank you so much for joining on this stream. If you want to support the channel, go watch some more videos, check out my digital store for Lightroom presets, and hey, until the next time, my name is Zach Sopak. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.